Hello, Sports Ramblings fans. Welcome to another fantastic episode. We're in a bit of a good mood because this weekend was good in college football. But in terms of the pros, unless you're Patrick Starr living under a rock, you noticed if you heard about the NFL,
I
what
do
happened.
live under a rock, Mikey.
Tim is the Patrick Starr. If I'm Sp- I mean, I guess that makes me SpongeBob, so I'm perfectly okay with that. Um, I don't know where this is going, but anyway, so unless you live under,
Ramblings.
yes, lots of ramblings. Already, we're not even a minute into the episode, and we already have a ramblings counter. I should just have like a little, little tally mark and just have like a button like ding, 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 ding.
Yes, have a little counter going.
So basically, if you've heard from any other news source, which I mean, you don't need anyone other than us, of course. Like ESPN's dying. I mean, we're clearly the future. So, if you heard stories from the NFL, it probably didn't even have anything to do with the game. It had to deal with Donald Trump saying that the NFL team should fire a player for kneeling for the anthem, and then all the players got mad and more people knelt and people booed and all of that. And it's a very divisive topic, very political. Because there's so many people kneeling, you can't exactly pin down what they're protesting. If you it's just a complete disaster. So I'm gonna talk about this a little bit without even talking about the politics. Um, so, according to a poll from someone important whose name escapes me right now, 66-ish% of Americans agree with Trump that people need to stand during the anthem. Okay, that's fact number one. Fact number two, NFL ratings are down 11% from last year. Now, in a business as big as the NFL, 11% is catastrophic. And the ratings last year, Tim, I believe you knew this, the ratings last year were already in a downward trend. So this
hmm
is like just taking, nosedive. So
hmm
people disagree. People don't want them to kneel for the anthem. The ratings are down. The third thing, which I found to be the most intriguing, so in games where teams had different levels of protest, so this is ignoring the Thursday night game before Trump said that. This is ignoring the Titans Seahawks where they both stayed in the locker room and did the same thing. In the 11 games where it was counted, and this was before Monday Night Football too, or maybe it wasn't. I'm not sure. But in the 11 games, whichever team protested more, so those 11 teams that protested more than the team they were playing, went 1-10 against the Vegas spread. 10 out of 11 played significantly worse than Vegas predicted them. So, we can talk about, like I said, if you want to talk about the politics in the comments, please, the videos do need more viewer engagement. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. I'll probably just, let, B. Nero just fiddling as Rome burns, watching the comments turn super toxic. But for the NFL, this is a business disaster because ratings are down. I mean, thousands of people are canceling their NFL Sunday ticket, and I know DirecTV has already paid the NFL for that. But at the end of the day, whenever the TV contracts come up to be renewed, DirecTV is gonna be like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but you're not getting as many viewers anymore. Y'all pissed off a lot of your base. People are unsubscribing, and we don't have as much money. So you either have to take less money, or we won't broadcast your games anymore." And then once that happens and the NFL gets less money, the teams get less money, and then the players get less money. So this is only going to affect them and if this continues, hurt future generations of players. And also it's going to hurt the league as a whole. And quite frankly, I mean, I know plenty of people just aren't going to watch games. Most people are only going to watch their team, and casual fans aren't going to tune in to like Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football. So the point I'm trying to make here is no matter what you think against the protests, if you think this is exactly what we need, the second coming of the civil rights, Americans are going to look at this and say this is a turning point in the country for good, or whether or not you think this is ultimate blasphemy, complete disrespect for everything this nation stands for, whether you love it or hate it at either extreme, doesn't matter. It's bad for the league. It's bad for their ratings. It's bad where it matters the most in the NFL. The NFL is a business, and what matters in a business in the bottom line. This hurts the bottom line. It's bad for the NFL. That's all I have to say about it. Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much just going to echo what you were saying there, Mikey. And like I think the thing that really surprises me here the most is how you mentioned that this year the NFL has already seen an 11% drop in ratings, in TV ratings, and that's from last year. And remember, last year the TV ratings were already bad. TV ratings were already bad last year, so you tack on an additional 11% off of that, and you can see how this is really going south. I mean, Mikey, here's the analogy I want to use.
Oh boy.
The NFL was already trying to just tread water, which was going to be hard enough. Because you think about how people were already complaining about the NFL with how they deal with domestic violence issues. Look at the whole Ray Rice scandal. Now the stuff that's going on with Ezekiel Elliott, like how the disaster and how the NFL handles player discipline. That was already angering a lot of people. Look at all the CTE stuff. No one's talking about that now because of this whole anthem.
Aaron Hernandez's results. Now, of course, I'm not. No one's saying the CTE made Aaron Hernandez into a psychopath, but I mean, it didn't help things.
No.
Quick tangent to Aaron Hernandez. To give us a rambling tally here. Yes, he was into gang stuff when he was a high schooler and he was bad, but all high schoolers and young college kids do stupid stuff. Now, the argument I heard, which may have something to it, is maybe the CTE prevented him from snapping out of it and maturing a little bit. Maybe you have an argument there, but at the end of the day, it's not good. The CTE is a big issue. Tim, continue.
Yeah, so like I said, like I mentioned how the NFL had issues with this whole domestic violence thing, how they handle player discipline, the scathing results of all these CTE experiments and research being done there. So you've got all this stuff already going on in the NFL, and so that was the NFL just trying to tread water. Now, with this whole national anthem protesting, it's like they've taken a giant rock and put it over their heads and be like, let's see if this improves things. And actually, it's just making them sink faster and sink a lot faster than I think any of us imagined. Because like you said, Mikey, whether you're for or against the protest, you have to acknowledge that this is an atrocious business situation that the NFL finds itself in. Ratings are tanking. People are ditching their Sunday ticket subscriptions left and right. Season ticket holders aren't showing up to games anymore. I mean, like, this is just all around just terrible for the NFL's business. And unless things change here quickly, I think we are witnessing the collapse of a giant. I mean, the NFL is certainly not what it once was. At least I think that's how it could be. I think, the NFL is going to start to just taper off if this kind of stuff continues in the league. And I don't know. I already know more and more saying, Saturday is my football day now. I'm much rather watch college football on Saturday than tune into the NFL on Sunday. So like I said, whether you're for or against this is a very divisive issue that is taking down the league as a whole. And I do know that Roger Goodell met with NFL players and owners about this on Tuesday. So maybe that could have been the topic of that conversation, is that how are these protests adversely affecting the league? Because just looking strictly off the facts, off the numbers, it is bringing down the league. And like I said, I think that we are witnessing the collapse of a giant unless something drastically changes here.
Oh yeah, this is the Titanic hitting an iceberg. It's a hole below the waterline, and unless the NFL does something fast, I mean, it's going to take a while to make up for the goodwill that has just gone up in smoke between the NFL and many of its loyal fans, because it's, at the end of the day, like, the numbers don't lie. It's bad for the league, and don't know what they're going to do about this. I mean, yeah, it's just a bad situation all around. So we'll see how that happens. We'll have plenty to talk about, maybe. So, of course, we Tim mentioned people are saying, okay, no more NFL, let's stick to college football, which of course we always knew college football was better. And I mean, it's easy to say that after such a fantastic week like we had last week. Just quickly going to rattle off the games. I was at SMU versus Arkansas State, watched a whole half of the football game, pony up. You see, Tim, I had some students explain it to me. You can't do the whole USC, like, you can't have your fingers tight. You can't, like, have...
No, that's a big no-go.
This is a big no-go. You can't have too much bend, or else you're those traders in Fort Worth. You just need, like, a casual, like, a relaxed, like, bend whenever you're doing the pony up. Like bunny, it's almost like bunny, just one
yeah, like your average middle schooler,
Yeah, exactly, something like that. So my only thing I can say from the first half of the SMU game, which is all I saw because that's all anyone sees, I definitely feel bad for the players during the time of the Pony Express because they were super dominant and their stadium can't really hold that many people, nor is it that exciting. So you definitely hear stories about how the Pony Express was more fun going to away games and having, Texas's stadium completely silent than it was to be at home in Dallas at Gerald Ford, not the present, the other Gerald Ford apparently, stadium down there in Dallas and all that. But SMU is a good offense. I think their coach Chad Morris, people were saying, I was watching the A&M Arkansas game there while tailgating with people, they were saying, one of my sister's friends was from Arkansas and an Arkansas fan. Unfortunately, he's like, yeah, this is tough because, he wanted Arkansas to win being an Arkansas fan. But if A&M loses, Kevin Sumlin gets fired. And people there think that Chad Morris at SMU, which, by the way, for those of you who are unaware with his recent dealings, he was the offensive coordinator at Clemson for Deshaun Watson. Not last year when they won the title, but he got that system in place that has helped Dabo have much success there in the land of the Rock. So SMU is, it's an American school. They won a game against a Sun Belt school. Pony up. Which I will say, last thing about that game, the most athletic people in the field were the handlers for Peruna. SMU's live Shetland pony mascot can flat out haul it across the field. And I thought it was just a pregame thing. No, that damn pony runs across the field every time they score. And the style of football they play is very Big 12 in that it's going to be it was like a 50-something, 20-something game. There's a lot of scoring. So those poor sons of bitches that have to handle Peruna, their 40 times are probably better than anyone else in the stadium. just throwing that out there.
Pure athleticism, Mikey.
Pure athleticism. Those poor guys, like they have to sprint in khaki shorts. It's just awful.
You gotta get some scouts checking them out.
Dude, I would the U.S. Olympic team needs to look at these cats.
Yeah, especially with Usain Bolt retired now. This is our big opportunity.
We have a chance to. No, whatever. So that was SMU. Tim, let's hear about your experiences in enemy territory up north.
Yeah, so for any of you watching last weekend's episode, I was at the Notre Dame-Michigan State game this past weekend up in East Lansing, Michigan, and it was an outstanding, incredible experience for me. It was the first time I've ever been at a true Notre Dame road game. So I wasn't really sure of what to expect, but I knew that people had told me that road games are a lot of fun, and this one certainly did not disappoint. I really enjoyed my time there, and I just want to give a big shout out to any Spartan fans watching this episode. The MSU fans were outstanding to us. I had so many Michigan State fans come up to me and my friend and say, hey, welcome Notre Dame fans. Thanks for coming. We hope you enjoy your time in East Lansing. just super nice, super cool guys. Just talking football with some of them, like that's like just really some great hospitality being shown us and other Notre Dame fans. So I just want to give a shout out to all the Spartan fans watching this telecast right now. You guys treated us very nice up there, and we really appreciate it. As for like the game itself, it was quite the foot stomping.
Yeah,
I mean,
as nice as the fans were, the Michigan State team was extremely nice to the Notre Dame football team. Very,
yes, they
very
were.
generous in terms of turnovers and defensive non-intrusion, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started off right off the bat when we won the toss and we told Brian Kelly fashion we want the ball. And we marched right down the field on that opening possession, capped off by a Brandon Wimbush rushing touchdown. And then on like the second or third play of the next drive, so MSU's first offensive possession, Julian Love just completely cuts the route, picks it off, takes it to the house, and in the blink of an eye, it's a 14-0 Notre Dame lead. And you could just tell the entire air had been let out of Spartan Stadium. And I mean, we were going nuts. I mean, and it was like, and after that, it really was just pedal to the metal for the rest of the game. But after that, I think the big turning point after that was Michigan State did score a touchdown on their next possession to make it 14-7. And I think after a couple of punts, Michigan State was driving again. We were up 21-7, I believe, at the time. We were up 21-7. Michigan State's driving again in the second quarter. And it looks like their running back, LJ Scott, is going to have a for sure touchdown, but he gets popped right before the goal line, loses the ball. Notre Dame recovers in the end zone for a touchback. They confirm it upon review, and then we score a touchdown off of that possession, and it's 28-7 at halftime.
And looking back.
And there was no looking back after that. And, I was telling my friend there that, I think outside of the pregame show, I think I heard the Michigan State fight song like twice the rest of the night. And I think there was one time in like the third quarter, I think, when they finally scored and they were playing it. And, the MSU fans were very much like it was a very subdued golf clap.
Aww.
And
you almost feel bad. Only almost, but you almost feel bad for them.
Yeah, so it was the funny thing was we were looking at the overall game stats. The stats were really almost identical for both of the teams, but the turnovers was the big difference. I mean, Michigan State had 3 or 4 very costly turnovers in this game, and like I said, that was the difference. So,
I mean, you have a pick 6, so that's 7 points. You have a fumble that in the end zone, so that's 7 points away from the Spartans, and that results in a touchdown for the Irish. So that
and they had another fumble. Michigan State had another fumble where we got the ball on the 20 or 25 yard line, scored a touchdown off of that. So I mean, there's 21 points off of turnovers right there. That's more points than Michigan State scored in the entire game. So
absolutely,
turnovers decide who wins football games. I mean, that's really the bottom line.
Definitely matters a lot. So were you in an away section? I know your seats were kind of high up. Was there a lot of Notre Dame people around where you were sitting, or I mean, I know towards the end of the game the Spartans kind of cleared out a little bit as the game progressed, but what was your seat? How were your seats? Was it an away section, or was it kind of like Notre Dame Stadium where they're sprinkled everywhere?
Well, we were definitely in an away section. There were Notre Dame fans just sprinkled throughout, especially based off of some of my friends on Snapchat who were also at the game. So they were kind of sprinkled throughout, but like we were located on the far side of the field, opposite the press box, and you could definitely tell there were a lot more Notre Dame fans on that side of the field, and like where we were definitely in like a student section area, like. All the people in my section where we were sitting, it was like pretty much all Notre Dame students.
Mm-hmm.
And there were also like a lot of just other Notre Dame fans in sections next to us on that side of the field and down in the lower bowl, closer to our bench as well. But yeah, so we were definitely, I would say, in an away section that they had, like for us, like way up there in the upper deck in like the corner.
just tuck you away in the corner where no one will see you.
Yeah, as you would expect, but like I said, there were definitely a lot of Notre Dame fans, like at least on the side of the field where I was sitting, and we were definitely, I would say we were definitely making a amount of noise that night based off how the game went. So that was always great to see.
Yeah, but a lot to cheer for the Irish. I think we're only allowing about 18.5 points a game, so that new defense is definitely come righting the ship from Brian Van Gorder's absolute disaster of a defense. I mean, Gallipoli is just jealous of how much of a bloodbath our games were this year. Speaking of, I know you were at the game, but did you see the Montgomery Van Gorder gif of his play call earlier or later in the game?
No, I did not. I did not see this. Fill me in.
Definitely retweeted. Well, it looks like he's it's an action where he's like rolling dice, but it's misconstrued at it can look like something else, and it's right in front of Brian Kelly's face.
Oh,
so if you're following me on Twitter,
I can see where this is headed.
If you're following me on Twitter, I definitely retweeted it. If you want to go dig behind all the other stuff, this is why y'all should follow me on Twitter. Everyone, you'd be able to see all this stuff that is amazing. So, that was probably the highlight of the game for me. I showed that to a bunch of my friends, and I was with a bunch of my friends last night just hanging out. I just thought of it randomly, like, guys, y'all gotta see this. Showed it to them. Everyone was just dying laughing. Just absolute legendary. The Van Gorder family, although they might not be defensively minded, they are definitely very gifable in terms of
very gif-worthy.
Their sideline interactions, their sideline gestures. So
yeah,
that was
not to mention
the fist pump or whatever the hell that was.
Back when we actually thought that Brian Van Gorder was a D coordinator.
Yeah,
real
member. so that was Notre Dame. Other important games, we always talk about LSU. LSU played Syracuse and looked not too good. They did clean some stuff up. In the first half, LSU had 0 penalties, which is like a miracle from God. But, I mean, LSU definitely did not play their best ball. I guess they were too busy looking ahead to Troy this weekend. I mean, I don't know.
Mikey, that's a huge matchup. Don't underestimate the
dude. Never underestimate Sunbelt teams. Just ask Texas A&M and
ever.
Arkansas.
Mikey, listen. Troy went to the NCAA last year. That's gotta count for something, right?
Oh, shooty hoops. Shooty hoops definitely translates to football. Just ask ask Syracuse. That's clearly what it was. Syracuse had what must have happened was Syracuse's uniforms gave LSU eye cancer. Ed Ogeron was not able to see his play card from how bad Syracuse's uniforms looked. He pulled Danny Etling like late in the third quarter and put in the backup, the freshman Miles Brennan, the future, which it was like only like a 2-possession lead. It's like, dude, it's way too early and way too close to pull the starter. Miles Brennan did score a touchdown, but then on the next play he did throw an interception, which turned into an orange touchdown. And so things did look a little dicey for LSU. Definitely not the cleanest game. Definitely one of those games that you just kind of forget was on your schedule. And you just, I'm glad to get out of there with the W. And they get to look forward to Troy this weekend, and then resuming SEC play in the next weekend against, it's either I don't know who they. I think they play Auburn next. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm gonna do some.
Sounds right. LSU and Auburn usually play early in
Mhm.
conference schedule.
So I'm
So
gonna look that up while I'm talking. Definitely one thing that did bother me during the game. I did tweet about this. We briefly, we kind of mentioned how ESPN's ratings are going down, and they're not doing. LSU goes to Florida and then plays Auburn. So the more you know. Another tune-up game against Troy before going down to Gainesville and what should be a more interesting game than it should be because we all know how Florida's done that. We'll talk about them later. But what really bothers me is ESPN is not doing so well anyway in terms of sports fans, especially here in South Louisiana, where we tend to vote. We tend to go the right way in terms of politics. Definitely a double meaning there in the word "right." I said a
rambling, Mikey.
definitely ramblings. So ESPN's leftward leanings are bad enough, but what really is the nail in the coffin, what really is crossing the Rubicon for ESPN, is their announcers' pronunciation of Cajun names. LSU is a decent defensive player with the last name Chaisson. Chaisson spelled Chaisson. It's a very common name. The Senate president in the state legislature, when my dad was serving, he was, Senator Chaisson or whatever. And they're like, and Chaisson makes a great tackle there. I'm like, oh my God, I want to go to Death Valley and just break into this broadcasting room and just break your microphones off your headset. Like, y'all deserve to be fired and deported to Mexico or some shit. That is the biggest crime against humanity ESPN has ever had. Their pronunciation of Cajun names is just awful. Like, I'm not even going to complain. I mean, I'm going to mention it, but I'm not going to complain about how they were cheering so hard for Syracuse to upset LSU and wanted so badly for Ed Ogeron to fail. It made me want to throw up. But what honestly kind of made me throw up was their pronunciation of the Cajun names of some of these LSU players. These guys are just straight, just no clue what they're doing. Like, I mean, bring back Brent Musburger, who would at least say it in a cool way, even if he said it wrong. Like, it's just
and the ball is caught by Chaisson. Beautiful catch, shot on the backfield. What do you think, Herbie?
Oh well, Britta, that was pretty good from the star player from New Orleans. Blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so
LSU with the touchdown.
As much as LSU struggled,
oh boy,
shut up, Tim. Ramblings. As much as LSU struggled, the announcers were definitely the biggest loser in that game. So go Tigers. I think I'm going to the game against Troy. Woohoo! SEC Sunbelt games.
Mikey, over under. Will you watch more of that game than the Chattanooga game?
I will definitely watch more than the LSU Chattanooga game, considering I watched absolutely like half a play of the LSU Chattanooga game. Oh God! And I don't know.
That was the night of our game against Georgia.
Yeah, 100%. So that's definitely
just chilling in the suite watching other games, right?
Yeah. Which I don't know if I'm sitting in the suite this game. Poor me, right? Got to slum it with the common folk maybe. But regardless, I'm gonna actually watch. I'm gonna say at least 5 plays of this game, depending on what else is on. I'm gonna watch a good bit of this game. So while I'm there, so we mentioned Georgia. So a few weeks ago, Georgia beat Notre Dame by 1 point, and a little more recently, Mississippi State absolutely dunked on LSU with a 30-point home win in Stark Vegas. The Battle of the Bulldogs, as it is being dubbed, where Uga and I don't know what Mississippi State's mascot were just chilling on the sideline, not realizing they're rivals and should hate each other. Georgia.
Oh, I was going to say, I think I heard that Mississippi State's bull or something like that.
You see, your mic cut out. Say that again.
Bully. I think that's what Mississippi State calls their bulldog. Don't quote me on it, but that's what I've heard.
Okay. Bulldogs are the worst mascot in athletics to begin with. I'm just going to leave it there. Anyway, Georgia absolutely dominated Mississippi State. I don't know why that is. I mean, definitely bodes well for Notre Dame. Does not bode well for LSU. I mean, we all know how unreliable the transitive property of football is,
Doesn't
but
apply.
it's literally just some of the worst rules in the universe. I mean, it's awful. It's worse than the ideal gas law, and I know that because I'm a chemical engineer, nerd shit. So Georgia absolutely dominated Mississippi State. Um, I mean, I always kind of have in the back of the mind, like, okay, in the doomsday scenario where LSU and Notre Dame play in a bowl game against each other, and I have to get made fun of by both my friends and my family, who's going to win? I have to say Notre Dame would beat LSU if they played tomorrow. That's my
Really, you think so?
I mean, that's just the way things are at this moment right now from what I've seen so far. I think there's definitely a significant edge to Notre Dame. I mean, the rankings have us at 22 and LSU at 25. Not that the rankings matter ever,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
just kind of just my gut feeling. Which my gut feeling is wrong. I thought we would have lost. I thought Notre Dame would lose the Music City Bowl to LSU a couple of years back, and I was of course wrong there. But who knows? I mean, that's why I'm here and not working for the failing ESPN. So good for us. They should seriously just replace Sports Center with Sports Ramblings on loop. Like they'd save a lot of money. I wouldn't even require that much money from them, Tim. You,
Mikey, we just need to call up Scott Van Pelt, get us in
dude,
somewhere. You know?
Scott Van Pelt needs to like start a coup and just take over ESPN from the inside and then hire us. That's what needs to happen.
Yes,
Like a civil war in ESPN, except it's a
yes.
business and people fire people. So let's get back on track, except not really. Um, Georgia beat Mississippi State. We kind of talked about this a little bit too. Auburn, not Auburn. Auburn just beat the shit out of Missouri. Who'd Auburn play? Auburn played Missouri, right? Is that correct?
I think so.
Auburn
Could be
killed Missouri. Congratulations, Tigers beating Tiger. The Tigers have played a lot of Tigers this year. They're gonna play more Tigers. Too many
lots of
Tigers.
Tigers.
The best Tigers are in Baton Rouge. Not actually factual if you look at rankings. Doesn't matter.
What
So
about the Detroit Tigers?
dude, Mikey Matuk and Jacoby Jones, former Bayou Bengals, dude, my man Mikey Matuk. Shout out to the man who spells my name the right way. We're family friends, but we like that. So we have the same name. So damn it, Tim, why'd you get me derailed? Arkansas played Texas A&M in Jerry World. Arkansas had some of the best uniforms Arkansas has ever worn. But Mikey, they look just like Ohio State. Why is Arkansas copying over Ohio State? Blah, blah, blah. They kind of look like Ohio State. Does everyone who uses a silver and a red look like Ohio State? No, because these look better. I don't want to be all artsy in different tones of gray, different shades of gray, shall we say. There's about 50 of them from what I've heard. Arkansas uniforms look better, and they don't have those retarded helmet stickers that look like marijuana plants. So definitely big fan of the Arkansas Razorback uniforms. What was people were not a fan of that I know was Arkansas's performance in the game. Again, taking the Aggies to overtime and again failing, throwing an interception in double overtime, I believe it was, or yeah, it was double overtime. Kevin Sumlin gets away with the job. I don't think Brett Bielema is much longer for the Arkansas job.
No, he's
He,
not.
I mean, he has the most disgusting sideline apparel of any football coach I've ever seen. So
The dude's gained like 150 pounds since he moved to Fayetteville.
I mean,
And he's grown, like he's got this like weird beard where it's like you're not sure if it's a beard, but there's definitely some weird looking facial hair going on
it's like
there.
someone steals his razor on Tuesday and he just doesn't look for it. Like
Yeah.
so, that game has always turned out to be a lot of fun to watch. It was this year too. Like I said, I watched it with some SMU students who were Arkansas and A&M fans at a tailgate. It was a lot of fun to watch with them, just knowing that no one's gonna be happy. Even A&M who won is like, man, that kind of sucked. Like we
Yeah.
barely got out of there alive. So rest in peace to both of
That's how
y'all.
they call it a shootout, right?
Oh my God, poor Jerry Jones. It's been a rough week for him. But what? At least the Cowboys did win their game, so he's got that going for him. So that was that game. That was pretty interesting. Alabama absolutely just destroyed Vanderbilt. No one is surprised there. interesting game that happened. Michigan took care of Purdue. We thought they might have had some trouble there. Took care of business there. And also, what do you want to talk? Kentucky. You want to talk about Kentucky, Florida, Tim? Let's talk about Kentucky, Florida.
We can touch on it.
Kentucky lost its 31st straight game to Florida. Florida scored a go-ahead touchdown when Kentucky only fielded 10 defenders. It's kind of hard to cover everyone when they have an extra man than you do. Usually that's a penalty, but that's because they have too many people. It's not a good strategy to leave wide receivers completely uncovered, because even Florida's offense can score when they have a numbers advantage. Like, if Florida can score on you, that's just bad. And then Kentucky shooting himself in the foot with a penalty to make it a longer field goal. Miss a field goal. Kentucky fails to beat Florida for the 31st straight year. Rest in peace, Wildcats. At least there's basketball season. Oh wait, you might get nailed by the FBI. More on that later in the show. Tim?
Cliffhangers.
Dude, that's a tease like no other. So.
But yeah, like that's what the game on the iron. I really thought that this was gonna a huge like breakout party for Kentucky. But like just again, shooting themselves in the foot, not able to get over the hump and get a big win like this against a top 25 team. So I mean, Mark Stoops has done a lot there to get that program on its feet, but obviously there's still work to be done. But I mean, I think this will be a fun story to follow the rest of the way. But the way that Georgia's playing right now, zero chance that they win the East. I mean, Georgia's too good right now. You said it a couple weeks ago, Mikey, that Georgia's probably going to go undefeated, and especially now that Tennessee's looking like garbage, and Georgia plays Tennessee this weekend.
Georgia's biggest road bump in the season is going to be Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, we don't know how Auburn is. I mean, they lost to Clemson, who's better than mostly everyone. They've beaten teams they're better than and lost to teams that are worse than. It's okay. I mean, whatever. We haven't seen enough.
The jury is still out on Auburn.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So Tim, I sent you this. This is the top comment from the Reddit post game thread when Florida defeated Kentucky 28-27. This is the top comment. If Jim McElwain was in an escape room, he'd never get any of the clues. But with 3 seconds left, the door would inexplicably fall off its hinges and he'd just walk out.
I think that's pretty accurate, Mikey. I mean, you look at this game.
It's a miracle this man has won as many games. Is Florida? Florida's no, they lost to Michigan. It's amazing Florida's not 0-3 right now.
Oh, they should have lost to Tennessee. They should have lost this game. I mean, we've harped on this a lot, but Florida is they're a zombie. They are a zombie. You think they're dead, but they're not.
No.
I can't explain it, Mikey. I can't explain it. They somehow win games. But I think that when the cocktail party comes up next month, I think that's going to be ugly.
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 I mean, I personally think Florida's going to lose before they even get there when LSU goes to Gainesville on a revenge tour for the Hurricane reschedulement and the College World Series and blah, 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 blah. But
Florida's going to have at least 3 losses this year, at least.
Oh, my God. This is going to be a disaster for the Gators.
That's pretty nicely, too.
So, the Gators...
oh, sorry. They might have 4 losses, too. So, we'll see about that.
So, Florida, I mean, let's see, they have Georgia, they have LSU, and they have Florida State. Speaking of the I keep wanting to say cinnamon rolls because that's how I make fun of them. The Seminoles. Tim called this last week. Wolfpack finally pulled off the upset. So, it's like the Battle of Atlantic in early World War II when the Wolfpack beats the superior force. Except this time it's not an evil empire submarine blockade. This is a college football team located in North Carolina. the NC State Wolfpack has been, knocking on the door for some upsets in the past couple of years, and I mean, I guess it's a combination of Francois being out and Florida State not having played since the Alabama game due to Hurricane, was it Irma? That devastated Florida and got those games canceled and rescheduled. Florida State was extremely rusty and undermanned, and the Wolfpack just took advantage of it. And good job, North Carolina State. Y'all won a game against Florida State. Here's your thumb. Here's your Ramblings thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up, Wolfpack.
Yep.
If I can get my thumb centered, which I have a hard time doing.
Dude, cameras are messy because I think this is on this side, but it's actually on the other side, and it's like,
Mikey, it's messed up.
It's like this. It's mirrored ish. Yeah, because this is my right hand. It's on the left side of the screen. Okay. What the fuck?
Mikey, we just like pause there for a solid 3 seconds.
This is Sports Ramblings. Okay, what else happened? Other games. Penn State walks off against Iowa. Fantastic ending to that game. I personally don't like Iowa. I don't know why I don't like them. I just don't. So that was kind of like, heh. I mean, I think Penn State is Penn State's for real. I think the Big Ten championship. I might have said this at the beginning of the season. I think is going to be Penn State, Wisconsin at the end of it when it's all said and done. Down in Indianapolis, not Indianapolis. Sorry, Charles Barkley. That's a throwback to college basketball. That game was a good ending. I didn't actually watch it. I just saw the end. TCU upsetting Oklahoma State. I mean, it's a ranked versus ranked matchup, but Oklahoma State was on such a roll. Sorry, Tim, if you want to talk about Penn State, Iowa, but we're moving on. You can go back to it if you want to say anything about it or no.
Well, I mean, I was just gonna say though. I didn't get, but it definitely seemed like there was definitely like an offensive explosion in like the fourth quarter because it was very much a defensive struggle throughout. And I think Iowa like out of nowhere gets like a 30-yard touchdown pass with like a minute to go or something like that. So it's going crazy there. And then Penn State just marches right down the field, and they're able to get a final play off on fourth down with like 5 seconds to go, back of the end zone. Great catch in the back of the end zone too. And I mean, it was just quite a win for Penn State. I knew this was going to be a competitive game. As like I said, Iowa always plays well when they've got a top-ranked team coming into their building. But so I think this was a great win for Penn State, even though it was a lot closer than they wanted it to be. But I think this is, like you said, Mikey, I think this is very good for Penn State moving forward. They showed a lot of mettle in the team, and I think that Penn State's going to come out of the Big Ten East. I'm not, like I said, I'm not really sold on Michigan yet, at least. We know that Ohio State's had their own issues. JT Barrett doesn't look as good as we thought he was. So I think Penn State is definitely the team to beat in the East right now. And then same with Wisconsin out of the West. I would not doubt if we have a rematch in the Big Ten title game this year. So that's all I wanted to say there.
No, hit the nail on the head there. Definitely a game that I did not expect to turn out the way it did was Oklahoma State losing to TCU. The Horned Frogs apparently have some semblance of a defense, and Oklahoma State struggled offensively at home too. That was the crazy part about it. Horned Frogs are looking pretty good.
They're in the top 10, Mikey.
Hey, I mean, that apparently I should be doing this instead of this. I mean,
yeah,
who knows? So I mean, I was definitely surprised by that game. Definitely impressed by TCU. the Big 12 is going to be a lot of fun this year, just because of, I mean, the Big 12 always seems to be one of the most exciting conferences just by virtue of everyone playing each other. And then because there's going to be, the title game, of course, is going to be a rematch no matter how it shakes down. So just to add that on top of it at the end, just to have, one final showdown in the streets of the dusty old western town, and bang, 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 and
high noon.
Dude, it's freaking high noon. Like, even Texas Tech has a semblance of a defense. What is up with this? Like, Baylor is a complete dumpster fire. Oklahoma on the road at Baylor struggled, still won. Baylor 0-4? They haven't won yet. I mean,
they haven't won yet.
I mean, they've taken plenty of L's, 4 on the football field, a lot from the Justice Department and the NCAA. Poor Bears. I mean, I don't feel bad for them because it's their own goddamn fault. But Bears fans that did nothing wrong, I mean,
we're sorry.
It's a good excuse to leave Waco if you live there. I mean, I don't think Waco's terrible, but it's not great. Go move to Dallas and cheer for SMU.
Or Fort Worth and TCU. Actually, probably not Baylor fans wanting to.
No. Go cheer
they don't like TCU.
Go cheer for A&M. I hear they're having a great time this season.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. So, what other big games happened last week? I kind of...
They covered pretty much all of them there.
A quick shout out to UL Monroe beating UL Lafayette in double overtime here in Lafayette. I have a family friend who played for UL Monroe. So shout out to him and his alma mater actually winning a football game. I think it was a shootout. I mean, those teams have no defense. The Sun Belt is truly the Fun Belt. And the Warhawks decided that UL Lafayette does need to just not call itself Louisiana and UL, at least until basketball or baseball rolls around, when hopefully things will restore the natural pecking order. So that was last week. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at the top 25 right now as it's scrolling on the bottom of your screen. I need to type something wrong sometime. I do the top 25 like so quickly before we start. Like, I've definitely misspelled or put someone in the wrong spot before. Deal with it. It
looks right to me, Mikey.
So there's that. Kind of something that happened around when we were recording and uploaded last week. The coaching carousel does look like it's going to be pretty ridiculous. It's going to be spinning pretty fast this year. We didn't mention, but Tennessee, who was like a 4-touchdown favorite against UMass, almost lost that game. So Butch Jones, like, have you ever gotten in a car, Tim, that has heated seats and you accidentally press the heated seat button and then like 30 minutes into the road trip you're like, man, it's really hot, like what's wrong with the car? And then you realize the heated seat's on. That's Butch Jones, except like it's literally in flames. Like, it's just like his pants are catching on fire now. It's a disaster. So I mean, Butch Jones,
the car's on fire, Mikey.
Dude, the ship is on fire.
The ship is on fire.
Ding, ding, ding. Ding, 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 ding. Warships reference. Everyone go subscribe to me on YouTube and watch Warships. Plugs all day long.
Mikey, when are we doing the video?
That's up to you, Tim. That is 100% up to you.
I'm ready I'm ready, dude. You just need to let me know.
Oh, dude, I'll arrange it. I have some ideas. So Butch Jones is on the hot seat. Nebraska fired their athletic director, so Mike Riley is on the hot seat. Brett Bielema, hot seat. Kevin Sumlin, hot seat. Depending on how things go down in the SEC, Jim McElwain, probably hot seat. Gus Malzahn at Auburn could end up on a hot seat depending on how things
half the conference is on the hot seat. Like,
yeah, I mean, people, some outsiders think Coach O's on a hot seat. LSU, I mean, it may have seemed like a rash decision at the time. LSU was very patient in their own minds, firing Les Miles when they did. So just, the talk of the town around here, like I can judge it based on like three cousins, what they post on Facebook, how job security is at LSU. It's fine. Coach O. They're not going to worry. No one's worried yet. It's the first year of his system. So even though that one loss to Mississippi State was rather embarrassing, Coach O's fine. I don't care what other people think. They're all fake news sometimes too. Only Sports Ramblings is an unfallible bastion of truth that never lies or gets anything wrong.
We are the most trusted.
Yes, ESPN may be the worldwide leader in sports. We are the most trusted name in sports. So,
yes, sir.
There you go. You can always trust everything I say. I definitely don't get names or schools wrong or say things incorrect ever. I mean, what are you talking about, Tim? Don't bring up anything like that. So, who else is on a hot seat? I mean, like the Big 12. I mean, that's the main ones. Nebraska, like most of the SEC. Anyone else you can think of like that? Just
Jim Moore at UCLA is definitely
that is a big one that I.
Especially after the loss to Memphis a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and he's been there a while too. So it's UC, especially with how the football teams in LA are doing, even including the NFL teams. It's not exactly that safe for the Bruins head coach there. So coaching carousel is going to be ridiculous. We shall see how it goes. But we're not going to talk about the offseason. We're going to talk about the season. Coming up this week, a couple of ranked matchups. Tonight, as you are watching this video, you are probably pre-gaming for watching this game. USC goes up to Washington State, to Wazoo. That game, ranked matchup, it's going to be crazy. Pac-12 After Dark always is. They have bingo cards on Reddit if you want to play that. It is pretty funny, actually. It's like 30-point comeback, overtime, double overtime. Oh, it's just amazing.
Dude, Pac-12 After Dark, you never know what's going to happen.
You truly don't. It's the eighth wonder of the world.
It's the Wild Wild West, Mikey.
It is the Wild Wild West. USC has had a fantastic game against Stanford, and everything else has been kind of, treading on thin ice. I would not be surprised if USC loses to Washington State. I don't want to say it's gonna happen because of how badly I was rattled from our bad prediction week, but I don't be surprised if Wazoo comes out of there with a victory. I mean, Coach Leach up there is definitely a one of the more underrated coaches in the sport. Probably because he's such a nut and his games are always like way too late at night. But I would not be surprised if the Fighting Sam Darnolds do what Trojans have historically done and lose.
Oh, and USC. They oftentimes have a hard time. Now, I know they got the big win at Washington last year, but usually when they go up north to Oregon or Washington, they oftentimes have a hard time up there. They oftentimes have a hard time playing some of their conference foes to the north. So, and it's going to be a crazy Friday night atmosphere there at Washington State. Like you said, Mike Leach's teams always seem to have a very dangerous offense. Luke Falk, the Washington State quarterback, he's a senior now. He's been there for seemingly forever. So well established in that system.
He's like a 10th year senior.
Yeah,
he's immortal.
Well, yeah, but like you said, like I agree. Like Mike Leach, underrated coach. I mean, look what he's done with Wazoo, and I think
he did at Texas Tech before that. I mean,
Well, and I think that's part of the reason why he's never been appreciated that much is because he's been at programs that aren't traditionally great. Like, he hasn't coached a Texas or a USC or like an Oklahoma.
He's always kind of made a second-tier Power 5 program look good. and not obviously not had a like you said, one of the premier blue bloods of college football.
Mhm. Well, I mean, this game. It almost you mentioned his days at Texas Tech. This almost like brings to mind that game, that legendary game that he had in 2008, where Texas Tech upset a top-ranked Texas team, and Colt McCoy. Does that name ring a bell?
Heard of him?
Coming to Lubbock, and they pull off the upset. You remember the Michael Crabtree touchdown with 1 second to go.
Yep.
I mean, this kind of has that feel. Like if Washington State pulls off this win, it's gonna shake up the college football landscape. That game in 08 certainly did. So you gotta wonder if Coach Leach has got some more magic up his sleeve for this game Friday night. I know that it's certainly going to be must-watch TV. Like you said, Mikey, Pac-12 after dark. You never know what's going to happen. I'm really excited for this game. So I can't wait. I think that if Washington State wins this game, it's going to really shake up the playoff picture. I mean, Washington State's undefeated. And if they win this game,
ranked 16, you can see it right here on the screen. Right. Oh wait, no, I'm pointing the wrong way. Right there, there.
There you go.
See where I'm pointing? I'm kind of following it. It's very weird.
But I mean, so if they win this game, Mikey, do the Cougars start to be considered bet for the playoff? I mean,
look, we all know basically if you are undefeated or one loss and you win your conference, you punch your ticket. So how do you go undefeated and win your conference? You win one game at a time. If you beat USC, that's a leg up on them. I know USC's in the Southern Division, and Washington State is in the North. So is that correct? Yeah,
that's correct.
That geography does make sense. Although we all know some
Missouri's in the SEC East, so that doesn't
is
make
just completely dumb. That is really dumb. They shouldn't even be in the conference. Neither should A&M. Honestly, that's just been a disaster for the Aggies. The only loser that's going to come out of that Washington State USC game truly is ESPN by not giving the Washington State Flags a home weekend in Pullman, Washington. Instead, the game day crew going from New York basically saying, you should still keep us on your cable bundle, because that's why they went to New York. I don't know if you can, do some slight research into it. Basically, game day went to Times Square to just kind of, as a show of force, to kind of pressure a local cable company there in the New York area is thinking of dropping ESPN because ESPN wants to charge too much money, but they suck outside of live sports, so the ratings are down, so it's not worth it, and people don't want to pay for it, and the cable company doesn't want to overcharge their customers, blah, blah, blah. Game day went to Times Square. That was dumb. Now they're going to Blacksburg, Virginia. Virginia Tech hosts Clemson. Clemson has won just about every big game in recent memory, aside from the championship against Alabama 2 years ago, or not last season, but the season before. But at the same time, Virginia Tech seems to be coming back. I mean, they won their big game to start the season off. I mean, they're currently undefeated. They've played some cupcakes since week one, but they have it's at home. They have a good home atmosphere. I mean, you don't know. I'm not going to pick against Dabo because that always makes me look dumb, but you never know. Tim?
No, yeah, I agree, Mike. I mean, after Clemson's big win at Louisville, it's always so hard to pick against Clemson in a big game situation. But I mean, this is definitely a game where Dabo and crew have to definitely be on their tippy toes, because this is a game that could certainly change the picture in that ACC race. Although I still do expect Clemson to win their division, especially after beating Louisville. Florida State definitely looks like they're not what they could have been. So I still expect Clemson to win their division in the ACC, but This could be. I think. Well, this was the ACC title game from last year, and Virginia Tech gave Clemson a run for their money. I think they only lost by like a touchdown in that game a year ago. So we could be looking at a rematch in the ACC title game this year between these two. But I mean, so maybe this won't change much in terms of like the ACC standings. We'll still have to wait and see how teams like Miami and maybe even NC State do. But this will certainly have an impact, I would think, on the playoff race. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Like you said, I still want to take Clemson here because, as we learned from the Louisville game, you just
don't
can't
bet against Dabo. It's a bad idea all the time.
Yeah. Even though, like you said, Lane Stadium there in Blacksburg is an incredible atmosphere, from what I've been told. It's going to be another crazy game there Saturday night. Game days there, so should be a heck of a matchup. And like I said, I think it's going to be a preview of the ACC title game for the second year in a row, unless like some crazy college football chaos ensues.
Will we see a return of the ACC Wheel of Destiny?
We'll see, Mikey.
Who knows? We should make that. Have a wheel spin it, and that's who's going to win that.
Just spin it, see what happens.
Yep. Who's going to win this game? Ding, ding, ding. Clemson.
Georgia Tech.
Oops.
Miami.
Speaking of Miami's, Notre Dame plays Miami, Ohio. Are we going to lose to Miami, Ohio?
Hope not.
Probably not. Former offensive coordinator Chuck Martin is the head coach of the team that people forget about because it's the same name as the major team. And it just pisses people off because Miami, when the U is ranked, they have to put Miami parentheses FL. And everyone's like, everyone freaking knows which Miami's ranked. Come on, people. No disrespect to that school that's somewhere in Ohio, I think. Or what? Yeah, it's Miami of Ohio, obviously.
It's in like literally the middle of nowhere.
Yep. So Notre Dame. I mean, that's almost as exciting as a matchup as LSU versus Troy. I'm not gonna say which game's gonna be more exciting, but the answer's none of them.
None of the above.
A game that might be exciting because it's the third ranked matchup and the last ranked matchup out of the three. The fighting Cowbells go down to the wannabe SEC East, SEC West Tigers, down there on the plains in Auburn to play Auburn and Jordan Hare. We don't know. Everyone's like, oh, Mississippi State's going to be great this year. They beat LSU. And then they're like, oh, wait, they got killed by Georgia. We don't know. So this is going to be a game that's going to say a lot about the SEC West race. If you're an LSU fan, hope for a close game or Mississippi State to win. I don't know. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. Alabama's going to win the division anyway. Let's just be cynical.
What are we talking about here, Mikey?
Let's just be cynical and accept that fact. So we're playing for a New Year's Six game. That is everyone else in the conference. That'll probably end up going to Georgia. So, or what are they playing for? Like the Capital One Bowl? Like, I don't know. Anyway, for bragging rights. Anyways, as bad as LSU's looked the past couple weeks, the rest of the conference, except for Alabama, looks pretty bad too. Auburn doesn't look great. A&M and Arkansas are both terrible. Ole Miss, well, they're just a program just complete. It's like Poland in World War II. It's just no hope for Ole Miss, unless some outside force saves them, which doesn't happen in football. Like Tennessee, LSU's crossover games are Tennessee and Florida. Tennessee almost lost to UMass, and Florida, like, not for Kentucky, not understanding the rules of football, thinking it's basketball and not having enough men on the field. Like, Florida would be 0-3 if it weren't for incompetency across the East. So LSU, I still think, has potential to have a pretty good season. Best case scenario, you only lose to Alabama. You're 10-2. Not bad for Coach O and company and the Air Canada offense, which needs to be better. But yeah, Sun Belt game against Troy for LSU. Auburn, Mississippi State. I think I'm going to give Auburn the edge just because Mississippi State looks shell shocked. Who knows? I don't know if they're already exhausted this early in the season. Auburn put up a big number against Missouri. Not that that's new. Like Purdue put up a bunch of points against Missouri. So MIZ, SEC, not really good. Go back to the Big 12. Bye. So I think Auburn's going to win. I think Auburn's a better team regardless, and it's at home. Even though there's just potential for both teams to just be really bad this year. I don't think this is Auburn's day to lose. I think that day will come a few weeks later when they have to go to LSU. But, I mean, they've already lost to one Death Valley. They'll probably lose in another. They'll probably also lose the Iron Bowl. This is kind of a must-win for Auburn to, get a 9-3 season. And 9-3 looks a lot better than 8-4. So, I'm picking the War Eagle. Air superiority definitely beats the ground forces of a Bulldog. So.
No, yeah, I mean, this is such a game because the jury seems to be out still on these teams. I mean, yeah, Mississippi State had that huge win over LSU, but they just got wrecked by Georgia.
That happened.
So I mean, people just don't know exactly what to think of them yet. Auburn's like we said, we don't know what to say about Auburn yet. Because I mean, yeah, they lost that game a couple of weeks ago to Clemson. That was kind of close, sort of.
Ish.
So I mean, I don't know. The jury's still out on Auburn too. I mean, so it's just really hard to make ends of this game because it's just two teams that people don't really know a whole lot about. But at the end of the day, I don't see either. Like you said, I mean, we all know that barring some catastrophe,
barring a miracle, Alabama's going to win the SEC.
Yeah, and
knowing my luck, that would mean Florida would beat Alabama, but we don't know that's not going to happen.
Or Ole Miss. Ole Miss can beat Alabama.
Ole Miss has nothing to lose. I'm more scared of Ole Miss than I am because they just have nothing to play for, both good and bad. They're just shit, let's beat LSU and then tank the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Who knows,
Mikey?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like you said, I want to give the edge to at home. I mean, like I said, it's so hard to pick this game because it's just two teams that we don't know a lot about yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of one of those things where it's the winner is okay, good win, but we're still not sure. The loser is yeah, you're not good.
I think it's this week's version of the A&M Arkansas game, a similar attitude going in, but also a similar result depending on how the game turns out for both teams. Would you say that's a fair comparison?
I'd say that's pretty fair.
And the last game I want to talk about, because it's the last one that the ESPN app said was a game involving a ranked team. Not a ranked versus ranked matchup, but Georgia does go to Neyland, to Knoxville, to play Tennessee. This may be Butch Jones's last stand, his Battle of the Bulge, last chance to win the war for the Führer. That is the Tennessee faithful. You're not Nazis. I just had to make a World War II analogy. I'm sorry I compared you to Nazis. Y'all are really nice people. I love y'all.
How dare you, Mikey?
I'm digging a deeper hole. Tennessee people are great. They're probably my favorite team from the East. Them than Georgia.
Rocky Top.
Dude, I love Rocky Top. I want to go to LSU's game there. But anyways,
I don't care who you are. When you hear pass your foot,
dude. Rocky. When you remember in the Stanley Cup playoff, the Stanley Cup Finals, when they played Rocky Top at the Predators home game, and the crowd was into it. That was amazing. That was,
oh my god,
that was the ultimate. Yes, the South has a hockey team move. Moving back into it, this is Butch Jones' last stand. He's not going to win this game. I don't think this game gets him fired now. I think if you're Tennessee, you give him that snowball, that snowball's chance in hell chance to beat Alabama the third Saturday in October. But if he loses this game, he loses to Nick Saban Lane Kiffin tarmac firing.
Yeah.
Because isn't the Tennessee Alabama game in Tuscaloosa this year, or is it in Neyland?
I believe so. I believe it's in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, he's gonna have to take.
So we'll see you later.
He's gonna have to take a Greyhound bus back to Knoxville to pack up his bags after
Yep.
that. This is his last stand. Who knows with Tennessee this year, but I think Georgia, from what we've seen so far, should take care of business. This game is only significant because, when Butch Jones' back is up against the wall, he might not be an incompetent idiot, but he hasn't proved he hasn't proved himself a competent idiot yet, so why should I not think he's incompetent? Tennessee's going to lose.
Well, and you know that all those Tennessee fans are super fed up with this. They from what I've seen on social media, Tennessee fans just want them to can Butch Jones, count their losses, and move on. They're tired of playing like this cat and mouse game of like, is he gonna be fired? Is he gonna stay?
They want to know how much Chip Kelly. They want to know which house Chip Kelly wants in Knoxville, or Bob Stoops, or they're already looking over the horizon to see what comes next.
Yeah.
So
I think so too.
So
they're ready to move on, whether Butch Jones wants to acknowledge it or not.
Well, he's gonna have to, cry himself to sleep with his $100 bills from his God knows how big of a buyout, sell his house in Knoxville, move far, far away, and I don't know, coach a group of 5.
In Star Wars, right?
Huh?
In Star Wars, right? A galaxy far, far away.
He can coach, go pull Lane Kiffin. Do what all good Tennessee coaches do. Go to USC, tank the program for a couple of years, then take a gig at a shitty school in Florida. At Lane Kiffin.
Maybe he might go to UCLA.
That'd be a terrible hire. If I'm UCLA, I'd just shut down my athletic program whenever that. I'd fire the athletic director when he suggests that. Like, if he suggests that in the boardroom, I'm like, well, we need to hire a replacement for you too now. Thanks, bye. But you know what? Schools don't have common sense when it comes to hiring. That's why they need me to be a coach of common sense or an administrator of common sense. Notre Dame, you're my alma mater, so you obviously have first dibs. Name your price. I can live in South Bend if you pay me enough.
Give Brian Kelly some common sense, right?
Dude, I still go, the Kentucky game or what? Kentucky-Florida game. I'm like, Mark, you need another defender.
Call a timeout.
Mark, call a timeout and put 11 men on the field as the rules of the game allow you. Play defense, cover everyone, substitute a sufficient number of players into and out of the game. Can you count to 11? I know Kentucky gives its basketball players some academic help, but as a head coach paid a lot of money, can you count to 11? It's the one that comes after 10. Oh, God. Unbelievable. Tim, are there any other games we should pay attention to this week in college football?
Not that I really know of. I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay.
I do know Chicago's Big Ten team, Northwestern, travels to Madison to take on Wisconsin. So we'll see what happens there. Probably a big L. Probably a big fat L.
Northwestern makes noise some years. This is not one of those years. So
no, this is definitely not a year that Northwestern makes some noise.
No.
Also, a team of coaches that might be on the hot seat. The Illinois Fighting Illini, Nebraska, Friday night. Probably as you're watching this video, probably not going to be much of a matchup there.
It's going to be a disaster. That's going to be like a high school game.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Poor bastards.
Illinois has a lot of work to do, Mikey.
So that's that. There's another big news story about college sports in general. But before we do that, because I do want to close with that, we just want to touch over MLB. All but one playoff spot has been clinched at this point. The arrangement is not sure yet, but what do we know? We know the Dodgers have the best record both in the Major Leagues and the National League. Dodgers have home field all the way through, provided they are actually still in the race. Cubs, good, congratulations to them, win the NL Central. They will play the Nationals, who won the NL East. Clinching an NL wildcard slot is the D-backs?
The Arizona Diamondbacks.
The Arizona Diamondbacks.
They've got the first wild card, so they wild game.
They will host the wild card game. The second wild card in the National League is still up for grabs. The only one that's up for grabs. I am looking right now as we speak. That's why I'm not paying attention for wild card standings. Milwaukee is currently 2 games behind Colorado for that. So neck and neck right there. We'll see how that turns out. In the American League, Astros win the West. Go Stros. Indians have won the Central, and the Twins have clinched the second wild card slot, and I think they're definitely locked into the second one. I don't look.
Yep, they are.
How about the Twins? What was it? 103 losses last year to wild card team. I mean,
I just heard this is the first time in Major League history that a team has made the playoffs after losing 100 games the year before.
That's fantastic.
Just a crazy turnaround.
So
hats off to the Twinkies because they've had an incredible season.
Oh yeah,
that really no one's been talking about.
I mean, absolutely, they definitely deserve more credit than they're getting. They're not going to make it far in the postseason, but just because of their personnel and the juggernaut that is the Astros and the Indians, I think that is possible. That is definitely looking like a very strong possibility for the ALCS. And then in the AL East, Boston and the Red Sox and the Yankees in their eternal feud, arguably the greatest rivalry in all of sports, are fighting for that division title. Both have clinched playoff spots, but just they don't want to play Minnesota. No one wants to play the wild card game. You talked about it last week, being a Cubs fan in the wild card game.
That wild card game a couple of years ago, that was.
Yeah. So,
no one wants to play that wild card game. You want to win your division and just be like, oh, okay.
So
we've got at least 3 games in the postseason, guaranteed.
Oh yeah. So what we have before us is either as you're watching this video or in the next couple days, we'll figure out who gets that spot between the Rockies and the Brewers, and we'll have our who wins the division in the AL East and who gets first place in the American League. We'll have our baseball playoff slate, and the best time of year for Major League Baseball, October, will be here, and there will be playoff baseball, and God said it was good.
Mikey, you said it's the most wonderful time of the year. I just heard that I just saw a promotional video that the Cubs put out today for the now that they've clinched the NL Central and they're officially back in the postseason this year. They released a promotional video where they were playing, the famous Christmas Carol, the most wonderful time of the year, and it was rendered. So it was like playing like, instead of like hearing like sleigh bells in the background, you would hear people saying, "Go Cubs, go Cubs," and it's like with W's flying and everyone be of good cheer.
That is, oh my God, like
it was a fire video. People go check it out on social media. It's legendary.
Tim should tweet it out at TimmyMZ94.
I'll try to tweet it out after the show because it's legendary.
Down there. So,
and it was also interesting. We mentioned how the Cubs are how my Cubs are back in the postseason this year. First time that the defending World Series champion has won their division since the Phillies in 2009. I found that rather shocking.
Wow.
But to me, I think that just goes to show how hard it is in baseball to repeat as champions. Even in your own division, not just baseball. So, I mean, the Cubs definitely have their work cut out for them. I'll tell you what, though, I'm really looking forward to this series against the
It's
Nationals.
gonna be fun.
Yeah, those games were fun in the regular season. It's going to be a lot of fun in the postseason. So I can't wait. Like you said, we'll have our full like baseball preview next sports ramblings. But wild card games should definitely be fun because those will have taken place by the next time we air. We know that the Minnesota Twins, at least, and the Arizona Diamondbacks will be probably. The Yankees will probably be hosting the AL wildcard game, unless they.
That's how it looks right now.
Yeah, unless they're able to pull off a comeback here and take the division from the Red Sox, and it looks like the Rockies will. Hang on to that second NL wild card. Either way you slice it, like if you look at it right now, Twins, Yankees, and Rockies, Diamondbacks, those are two great looking matchups there for the wild card games. Those games are always fun because it's do or die, truly win or go home.
Mm-hmm.
So they're fun if you don't have a horse in the race. If you do have a horse in the race, take your heart pills, take your Prilosec OTC, like Larry the Cable Guy says. You're gonna need it because it's too much to handle.
Take a couple shots of your hard alcohol of choice to just numb the pain. So the MLB looks like, again, playoffs shaping up to be pretty good. A good way to end what's been a great season thus far. So, good luck to everyone and their team, unless you cheer against the Cubs for Tim or the Astros in the AL, because we all know we want Mikey's childhood team that he kind of cares about to play Tim's mistress of the Chicago Cubs, and just have me kind of poke fun at Tim and kind of want to win, but just kind of want to mess with him at the same time. So,
yep, that's why I'm here, Mikey.
I mean, my biggest rooting interest in the Astros is Alex Bregman. So,
oh yeah,
I mean, go Tigers! Like the Tigers that are now on your screen over there.
Mikey, we know that Alex Lane will be pitching before.
Oh yeah, no. Alex Lang is when Alex Lang is pitching for the Cubs, y'all will have a lot more loyalty. Like, I can speak on basically all of South Louisiana. Most of our loyalties, like, I saw on the baseball Reddit that a map of like the most popular team in each state. Louisiana's split between the Astros and the Braves, which is exactly what I expected. But truly, that's what MLB fans in the state cheer for. But truly, what like the average sports fan cheers for here in South Louisiana is teams with LSU players. We've been following the Tigers. We don't care if they win or lose. Mikey Matzuk hits a 2-run home run. Hell yeah! It's that sort of thing. And all of that. So,
did you say, Mikey, when you were at an LSU football game last year, you did see some folks hanging a W flag in a suite?
Oh yeah, no. Last year I was at the LSU Ole Miss game, which was the same night when the Cubs clinched the NLCS against the Dodgers. I saw people in Jake Arrieta jerseys wearing LSU hats. Like,
that's legendary.
Cubs are everywhere. I mean, a few years ago when I was at Notre Dame, Florida State, there was a W flag hanging out the press box. So, or the suites or somewhere up there. So, Cubs fans are everywhere. I think I even saw some W flags in New Orleans. Hell, in LSU baseball, Michael Papierski from Lamont, Illinois, I believe, his family had a custom-made purple and gold W flag that Tiger fans saw a couple times as the Bayou Bengals made it for them.
That's legendary.
So I definitely want one of those, but they did get it custom-made, so that's way too much effort for me to find.
You just gotta find a website, man.
Tim, I'm gonna maybe I need leave a comment. Should I get a purple and gold W flag? I mean, the answer is
I think you should.
I mean, it's a good.
I mean, hey, Chicago Blackhawks fans have made flags with. It's a red flag with a black W, and there are the Indian feathers hanging off the W. It's pretty
That's
lit.
pretty cool. I mean, that's definitely good. Chicago embracing its favored of the two baseball teams.
No one cares about the White Sox.
No, especially definitely not any salty Astros fans about 2005 anywhere near me at all. So, um, let's let's move on. Baseball's fun. What's more fun is the FBI just absolutely hitting a dinger against the NCAA. All kinds of allegations, subpoenas everywhere. Like, it's a complete just carpet bombing of NCAA programs. The biggest surprise, it's mainly the predication is that teams are paying players through apparel companies. Like Adidas is like, hey, if you go play for this school, we'll give you some money now, given that you'll sign your shoe contract with us once you go to the NBA or NFL, and then they go to that school, whatever. Now, paying players is not surprising for anyone. What is surprising is that the attorney general or the chief investigator for the FBI on this case called USC and Auburn premier basketball programs. I think that's the biggest surprise to all of us. As far as I know, Auburn has not been a premier basketball program since Charles Barkley graduated, and USC has never really been relevant in basketball from what I know. But Louisville making moves against Coach Rick Pitino. He is essentially fired, but the trick there is he's on like extended administrative leave.
It's like unpaid leave, but he's gonna get fired.
Like, his lawyers basically said he's fired, and the real interesting the juicy nugget here is Rick Pitino has $44 million left on his contract. I think he's guaranteed. He has a contract with Louisville through 2026, if I'm not mistaken. Also interesting in terms of Louisville, the athletic director is fired. So Bobby Petrino, see, it's good one of them's getting fired because their names are too similar to be at the same school. Bobby Petrino,
Too many Italian names, right?
Patino and Petrino, there's like a couple letters difference. It's just absolutely just way too close. Both very slimy individuals in their own right. So Bobby Petrino, Mr. Neck Brace after motorcycle crash with the mistress, his buyout drops in half now that the athletic director is gone. So what that means, he has job security at Louisville, but if Lamar Jackson goes to the NFL this year, which he might. I mean, hopefully he stays good enough that some team will make like the Jets will make a bad decision and draft him, and he'll be a bust like a lot of other mobile quarterbacks are in the NFL. But anyway, Lamar Jackson leaves Louisville. I think Petrino takes a look at this coaching carousel going around outside of football and being like, man, I'm tired of losing to Dabo Swinney. Maybe I hate myself and want to go back to the SEC.
Yeah.
I definitely think with this this just complete dumpster fire going on at Louisville and several other programs, and who knows how many more will be altercated in this when it's all said, when the gun smoke settles. But right now, Louisville is the number. It's the Bismarck that's on fire. It's the most obvious, like, it's what's getting all the attention right now because it's a national championship Hall of Fame basketball coach that's definitely getting fired, and we'll see how hard he goes down swinging, because I would go to a lot of court hearings to get a big chunk of that $44 million. Especially what might help him is how widespread it is, but like, I mean, even in the past days as it's unfolded, Auburn got dinged with that. Alabama fans were like, haha, you got, you're getting caught by the FBI and the NCAA. And then what comes out today? Alabama's involved too. So it's no one is safe. For sure, it's Adidas and Nike schools as of right now. No one from Under Armour has received a subpoena from the last I saw. So
Mhm.
fingers crossed that the People's coach Mike Bray is doing things
I
okay.
sincerely hope.
I mean, I just don't want him to get fired. He's good and I like him. Um,
Well, knock on wood, but from what I've heard people say, is that really more than anybody else in America, Mike Bray does things the right way. So
one can
I'm
only
not,
hope.
yeah. So I'm not too concerned, but I mean, at least yet. I mean, like you said, Mikey, it just really seems like no one is safe. I
Hmm.
mean, this thing is far from over. The gun smoke is not going to settle
We're just getting
anytime
started.
soon.
This is Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
We got a war to fight. Um,
Oh, I mean, this could like drastically change the way college basketball is played forever. I mean, and I know that like Arizona is also a
mhm.
program that's involved here, and I mean they're one of the premier programs out west, maybe even in all of college basketball. So
I mean, it seems like they're in the
If
Final Four every
Arizona's
year.
not safe, you know that no one's safe.
No.
You know.
And Arizona and Louisville. Louisville's won a championship in recent history, and
Hmm.
Arizona seems to be in the Final Four and losing to Wisconsin every year. I mean,
Elite Eight. Elite Eight.
Elite Eight. I'm sorry, Arizona fans, for giving you more, or sorry for Wisconsin fans not giving you the credit you deserve of beating them earlier in the big dance. But you and I were kind of talking about this pre-show. It's well, damn it, what did I say? It's random things. So, Tim, what did I say? I'm tired. It's late. Uh,
Well, we were just talking about like how like well also we were saying how like that this whole one and done culture
yes. Okay.
in
Okay. I got.
college.
I got this. Okay. So I have said before. I'm sure you've heard on this show if you are friends with me or if you follow me on Twitter. Which why are you not? You know that I think the best draft eligibility rules in all of sports is baseball. Baseball is the best because you get drafted out of high school and you can go to college and you can take your draft pick if you're really good. Like I believe like Addison Russell for the Cubs came straight out of high school, and you can make it to the major leagues before you're 22 or 23. All power to you. But if not, you should probably go to a premier program like LSU, Florida, Vanderbilt, UCLA, Cal State Fullerton. You should go to one of these premier baseball programs, work with great pitching or hitting coaches, and severely increase your draft stock. And then after your junior year, there's another chance to go to the draft. And even then, you can turn it down, go back your senior year, get another year. And then, depending on how good you are, if you go to LSU, you tend up, getting drafted higher. Alex Lang did go his junior year, but a lot of the senior players for LSU that stayed an extra year and went higher in the draft than they did before. Basketball, I think, would benefit from a very similar system. Maybe instead of high school 2 years and then senior, high school 3 years and senior, maybe high school 2 years in junior senior. Maybe like a two and done if you decide to go to college. I mean, you think about all of the basketball greats. I mean, Michael Jordan went to like what 1 year at North Carolina, something like that.
No, he was there for three. I'm
3 years.
pretty sure.
Okay, but I
Hmm.
mean, other than him, Kobe came straight from high school. LeBron came straight from high school, and I mean, this is America. Like, if these players are good enough to be for sure NBA stars out of high school, I fully endorse them being able to go to the NBA. Everyone else, though, I think should be able to, not, some people are delusional and think they'd go a lot higher than they are. They should be able to see, like, hey, I'm not all I cracked up to be, or at least these scouts don't think I can. Maybe I should go play for Coach K at Duke or North Carolina or Arizona, or come with the people's coach at Notre Dame. Recruiting plug right there. Maybe
Go
I need to go
Irish.
to maybe I need to go to Kansas or Wichita State or something and up my draft stock. Maybe get a little bit of an education. It's all it just seems like it'd be a better system. Now, the one thing baseball does have over basketball in the NBA is the minor league system. I definitely think if the NBA were to push harder with this G League, because everything is being sold now, including the name of their minor league. Thanks Gatorade for sponsoring that. I'll just call it the Growth League. That's what G stands for. I feel like that definitely needs to be expanded for a baseball-esque
No,
system.
I agree.
A baseball-esque system to work with basketball. Football, I don't know about football. I don't know if you can go straight from high school to the NFL in football. I think football you should at least play 1 year in college. I don't know. Football I don't think is as big of an issue. Well, I think the draft rules need to change the soonest and in the most drastic manner is in basketball. That's one thing I want to talk about. Tim, if you want to talk about that, because I also want to go into this whole concept of improper benefits and paying players and just the NCAA as a whole.
No, like what you've been saying is something that I've been doing for a while. And I know that like our man Dick Vitale on ESPN. Oh man, this is terrible. But I mean, like I heard, like I saw, like Dickie V was talking about this this whole scandal thing, and he is absolutely disgusted by this. And well, he's been calling for a while to do exactly what you're saying, Mikey, is that like people like Dick Vitale are saying that if you've got a kid who's good enough to play in the NBA out of high school, someone like a Kobe or a LeBron, they should be able to do so. They should be able to enter the NBA draft straight out of high school and not fool around with this whole one and done mess. But then if you choose to go to college, you should be there for at least 3 years, develop, get an education. I mean, think about this, Mikey. Like all these one and done players, they're only on campus for like 6, 7 months.
They're not even there for 2 whole semesters.
You are wasting so much scholarship money on these players. I mean, Mikey, look at Ben Simmons, who was at LSU.
He stopped going to classes the day the season ended.
Yeah.
The day LSU got knocked out of the NCAA tournament, or they didn't even make the tournament with him. The day they got knocked out of the SEC tournament, he stopped going to classes, dropped out, and then, went to the Sixers. But like, and a lot of people will make the argument, oh, but these players need an education, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? Let's just say they go to the NBA, they turn out to be a Kobe Bryant, all-time Hall of Famer, argued in the pantheon of the gods of the NBA. They have millions upon millions of dollars. They can get an education if they want to. They can, they probably don't need it. They just pay someone to manage their finances and live out the rest of their life in peace or pursuing whatever they want to. Say they're a bust. Say you get drafted number 1 overall and you just stink it up. First of all, that happens far less often in basketball than it does in other sports. Basketball is a sport where players are basically great, where they're graded in high school doesn't change a whole lot, especially with this whole one and done system. No one's draft stock drastically changes from playing 1 year in college. So,
I mean, like Mikey, like when Ben's at LSU, guess what? He still went number 1 overall.
Yeah, he was the number 1 prospect. He went number 1 overall. But say Ben Simmons is a bust, or he has a career-ending injury with the Sixers or whatever. Let's say he went in our proposed system, went straight out of high school. Guess what? He has millions of dollars in his pocket now that he didn't have before. If he's a smart enough guy, he'll probably go back to college. It doesn't even matter. A lot of these schools aren't necessarily that tough to get into. I mean, he can go, do what the normal people do, go to community college, get a degree, and then go from there to a college, do something, but they have the means to finance their own way through college now. If they go straight to the draft and bust, they have, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars, which should, provided they're not a complete dingus when they're with spending it when they're in the league for however long they are. If you're a complete bust and you're not an idiot, you can afford your own college. I mean, it's people who are arguing for the whole education thing, like, are just somewhat delusional. I think it sometimes comes from delusional, like Kentucky fans, or I know whenever an LSU player goes to the NFL, I'm like, oh, you would have helped us so much more the next year in college football. Yeah, their existence is not to help your college team win more. They are playing sports to a lot of times bring their poor families out of poverty and get themselves an education. And I mean, I know from being family friends with Mikey Matuk or other baseball or professional athletes from around the Lafayette area and that sort of thing. Like, they go back to college during their off season. Alex Lang is at LSU right now doing the fall semester because the minor leagues have ended and he hasn't been called up to the Cubs. He's finishing his education even though he's been drafted into even though he did finish his junior year. Players that go early, a lot of them, most of them, still finish their education. It takes them a couple of years. They have to go to summer classes when they have, whatever their off-season allows. But the idea that they're just throwing away, like, oh, stopping at 3 years, I'm not going to finish my degree, is complete bogus. They go back and get their educations. I'm not speaking for everyone. Obviously, you can't speak for everyone. But just the argument that they're not going to get an education if you implement a rule like this is just dumb. It's wrong. It's either they're going to be good enough to not need an education, or they'll have more than enough money to pay for the best possible school they could get into. So, and their family would be no longer poor. You don't have any situations like, what was his face at, I know this is football, Lattimore, Marcus Lattimore at running back at
South Carolina,
where he was going to be a great draft pick if he'd gone out his freshman year and then gets injured his next 2 years and I don't even think he got drafted or didn't even go to the NFL. So, I mean, I feel like basketball would be a much more easier and logical fix than the NFL. The NFL, like we said, has much bigger fish to fry right now.
Yeah.
But I do think the NFL would benefit from restructuring its draft rules. Maybe, I mean, I don't think the NFL, is a long way from like a minor league system, but who knows? I mean, I don't think the NFL needs to change the rules as much as basketball, but basketball definitely needs to adopt a baseball or take inspiration from the MLB and NCAA baseball draft relationship and how that works out. Expand the G League, there's already so few basketball players and there's so much money in the NBA. They can definitely afford to have, an extra roster or two per franchise in a development style league, in a minor league type system. I think it's where it needs to go. And I think it would cut out the need for a lot of these players to go to these big time programs and these big time programs to feel like they need to pay for it as if it's like they're buying a black market commodity. If these basketball players were baseball players, they would make millions, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars. But because, they're only getting your tens of thousands of dollars of scholarship money, they, black market develops and this kind of stuff happens under the table.
And even just like from like an on the court standpoint, I've always been saying that I think that this one and done thing is terrible for college basketball because you just get so many guys that like just seem so like uninvested because like there's a lot of times these guys are kind of like, oh, I don't want to get injured and hurt my draft stock,
And they'll like showboat against a nobody team and then just kind of lumber around during the NCAA tournament. And like you might be getting towards something, but I find I'd rather like the most talented players aren't always the most entertaining to watch. The best to watch, you know what? Maybe I'd rather watch a team of second round NBA draft picks that have been together for 3 years than I would a Kentucky team that's all first round NBA starters that are just kind of dicking around while they have to before Coach Cal gets them drafted.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Mikey. But I always watching Notre Dame basketball and what Mike Bray does with our players and why like they've been together for 3-4 years. They have such great chemistry together. Like when you've got a one and done system, like you said, Mikey, it's just like a bunch of guys just kind of out there like fooling around. And like I don't know, like the same energy and passion just doesn't seem to be there, because they haven't been at these programs long enough to like understand the passion, like the true passion and energy that can go into it, and they're just out there like pull like a Marshawn Lynch type thing, like, oh, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, I'm just here so that I can get to the NBA and make my millions upon millions of dollars. I couldn't give a rat's behind about playing for holding up the legacy of Kansas or Kentucky or whatever.
Yeah. And
So
I know definitely in baseball, like Alex Lang, we've been talking about him. I've just been thinking about him as you've been saying that. Like, he definitely had the talent to go to the MLB early. I don't know what he was drafted after high school off the top of my head, but he went to like he was being recruited by LSU, went to like one of their postseason series as like a junior or sophomore or something in high school. It was like, man, or like he was in like a travel baseball team that was in Baton Rouge and went to like one of the LSU super regional games. And he's like, wow, this atmosphere is fantastic. I want to go to college. Goes to college, and there's a mutual understanding. Every LSU fan, except for the beyond delusional and uneducated ones, knew Alex Lang was gone after 3 years the day he threw his first pitch. I mean, you could tell his freshman year, like, this guy's gone after his junior year. Let's enjoy him while we have him. And he gave it his all to LSU baseball. He loves the program. Even though he has the talent to move on and does leave early, there's no bad blood. He's thankful for his time at LSU. LSU fans have great memories of his performance there. Like, you build that bond, you build that culture, and Alex Lang is going to be making bets with Jake Arrieta and the Cubs in the Cubs clubhouse when LSU beats the TCU Horned Frogs in the College World Series in 3 years. I mean, that sort of stuff is what develops. Whereas, like, you can see Anthony Davis tweeting hashtag BBN and that sort of stuff or whatever. But how much of a connection do they really have to the schools? Like, I'm not trying to accuse Anthony Davis in particular. I just brought him up, being a Pelicans fan, and he's, a Kentucky basketball player that comes to mind, for sure an example of someone who could have bypassed the one-and-done system and gone straight to the NBA and probably still drafted number 1 overall or very highly, if not that. So that's one thing. And so I guess changing the draft rules would eliminate the need to pay players, because the players that you would pay are getting appropriately compensated by going directly to a professional level. But also, one thing, I've always had a problem with what the NCAA considers to be improper benefits. Improper benefits are complete bullshit. So, Tim is a star quarterback for Notre Dame. Tim is my roommate. My parents want to take him out to Rocco's in South Bend for a slice of pizza. That is improper benefits. Okay? Instead, we bring Tim to, our apartment we've rented or a condo we've rented. My mom, we spend hundreds of dollars bringing up, ingredients from South Louisiana, and my mom slaves away all day and cooks a fantastic gumbo with a great potato salad and gets all kinds of stuff or whatever, and provides him with a home-cooked meal that's infinitely more expensive, infinitely more time-intensive or whatever, perfectly legal by NCAA means. I mean, like I could go, like...
But they couldn't buy me a slice of pizza.
Like, I can't take you to get a freaking Big Mac, but it's okay if I if Thanksgiving I cook you a turducken and go get all the sides from Ruth's Chris. I could get the food from the restaurant and bring it, and it's just so dumb, the NCAA rules and the whole concept of improper benefits are to make sure that nothing like The Blind Side happens or anything like that. Like, it basically exists to make sure poor people stay poor while they're in college. So, Tim, let me give you a story. I'm a chemical engineering student. Say I came from a not well off, I was not as fortunate as I am now. Came from kind of a down in it family or whatever. Kind of poverty stricken. I go to, I get into Notre Dame. I have a scholarship for academics in need based and all that, and say I befriend a professor, and say that professor kind of takes me under his wing, in addition to like our wonderful on-campus jobs of being the best referees in rec sports and all of football really. I've seen NFL and college refs. But say on top of that, he lets me work in his chemical engineering lab, and then after that I go mow his grass. And, he pays me way more than I should for mowing the grass, like $400 a week or something, just to help me out, and so I can send it back home and help my family. That's fine in an academic setting, but you do a parallel to that to athletics, it's like outrageous in the eyes of the NCAA and the fans that don't think about it. I mean, why do we have an organization that makes sure that, bright up-and-coming young men and young women are forced to stay at a level of poverty that they came into college in? I mean, like, I understand why they think they're doing good, but really it just it's artificially holding these people back for an extra 3 or 4 or 1 to 4 years that just is entirely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it brings to mind too. I mean, I don't know how many of you out there remember this, but I want to say about around 2013-ish, Shabazz Napier, who was a guard for UConn basketball when they won the national championship in 2014, he came out and said that while he was in college, there were nights where he would go to bed hungry, because NCAA rules were so strict on what he could and couldn't do that he wasn't eating as much as he should have been, And so it's like stupid stuff like that where it's where it's like the rules are so outrageous sometimes, where it's like they're causing these guys and gals to go to sleep hungry because the improper benefits aren't letting them do this or do that,
Yeah, it's so dumb. And then even from anything as serious and important in life as whether or not you go to bed with an empty stomach or a full stomach, LSU closer Zach Hass, freshman phenom, definitely going to be a major leaguer. Whenever LSU players all did their hair weird during the College World Series, cut his hair like Charlie Sheen from the movie Major League, and was started to call Wild Thing, the zigzags and the weird patterns and all that, because he truly was psycho. Charlie Sheen sent Zach Hess the glasses from the movie Major League, and the NCAA confiscated them as improper benefits, going along with a joke. Going along with the, hey, I'm, cutting my hair like Charlie Sheen's character.
I'm Wild Thing Ray Vaughn.
I'm Ray Vaughn, but actually in college, Indians, you should probably draft me because I have the haircut. He can't even get the
I have my statue of Joe Boo,
He can't even get the movie prop glasses without that being improper benefits? Who the hell thinks Charlie Sheen is giving him a movie prop that's forced him to go to LSU? No, that's playing along with the joke. That's having fun.
It's having some fun, yeah. Mikey, how about this thing with this UCF?
Oh, the YouTube channel?
It's the same thing.
The player with the YouTube channel is completely absurd. He's not playing football at UCF versus USF because UCF has better potential for a YouTube channel. That's complete bullshit. It's complete how dumb must you be for your entire organization to make just dumb rules? These are just atrocious. I don't understand it at all. The NCAA is one of the most strange organizations in the world. I mean, and we could go on and on. Title IX is absurd in terms of the NCAA. I mean, the way the NCAA handles that with scholarships. Just everything about the NCAA in terms of scholarships and improper benefits and how players are treated in recruiting. It's just all it's a voodoo magic. It makes no sense. It's actually makes sense in that it's not good. It's, oh my god. I could talk all night. This video, this is a long sports rambling episode. We could go double the length of the show, just like not comprehending what anything the NCAA does means.
But I mean, I think kind of like what we're getting at here. Like, bottom line, this whole FBI investigation is that this has the potential to like really not just shake up college basketball, but really just college sports in general, and how like under the table things happen, if they happen at all. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Which I think,
this is far reaching. Like you said, is safe. I mean, it's going to be a long time before the gun smoke settles. This is, like you said, this is the tip of the iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg, and I mean, I don't know. And who knows that this, extends into more than just basketball? Who knows that this extends into other collegiate sports as well? I mean, who knows? This is.
I mean, we know
this
Auburn.
Is,
We know Auburn
yeah.
bought Cam Newton, so it definitely applies into football.
Yeah,
But
I mean, this is crazy. It's crazy, um, and kind of like like how like what Dick Vitale was saying. It really breaks your heart to know, like, because we want to imagine that college sports are like this holy and sacred thing, but we know that there are so many like just crazy things going on under the table that and that now it's all coming to light. It's all coming to light, and it just kind of like breaks your heart that that we're not doing as good of a job as we could. If that makes any
yeah,
sense.
it's because I don't know, like you want to follow the rules that are there. Although I do think I do think what we've been getting at with the whole draft rules and improper benefits is the NCAA set itself up for this. I don't want to say it encouraged it, but it created a system where this kind of under the table black market for players has thrived. And I mean, it's just a bad. It's the bad setup that is the NCAA rules coming back to bite it and its member institutions. I don't, I'm not gonna defend Louisville and say it's justified. I'm also not gonna condone them because I mean any more than it's the rule of the NCAA. But I don't, it's clearly more widespread than the handful of schools they've brought up. I mean, it's probably it could be everywhere for all we know. And at what level we're not sure, but all that we do know is from what you and I have been saying, what we think it's a product of the environment the NCAA draft rules and improper benefits has created. I feel like if you want to prevent stuff like this happening in the future, you have to, you can't treat the symptoms, you have to treat the source. And the source is the draft rules, improper benefits. Improper benefits, that's such a bullshit phrase. Like you have to hit, you have to cut the head off the snake. So
No, I agree, but I think the one thing that we know here, this is going to be a massive like black cloud hanging over the upcoming college basketball season. It's going to be everywhere throughout the entire season. It's going to be hanging over everybody's heads. And we don't know how, like we said, we just don't know how long this is going to take, how involved it's going to be, the depth of it. I mean, all we know is that from what I've heard so far is that it's not good, and it's far from over. So,
yeah. So I mean, I think we've talked about it enough. I mean, we've kind of talked about more generic terms. We'll, of course, know over the coming days and weeks and months even how widespread this is and what this means for the landscape of college basketball and college sports as a whole. I mean, we'll see which football program gets ratted out or gets subpoenaed first and what coaches
Alabama,
get fired.
right?
I mean, Nick Saban doesn't need to pay players. I mean, all he literally has to do is say, you're going to get drafted, you're going to win a title. Come play for me or go play for those suckers down in Baton Rouge. And that's
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Top 10 recruiting class. Number 1 recruiting class without even trying. So, yeah, we'll see how this shakes down. Well, definitely, you have not heard the last of this NCAA scandal from Sports Ramblings. I'm telling you, the NCAA should hire me. I would make a great NCAA commissioner. Tim and I we can make like an oligarchy instead of a CEO. We just get like a council of like 10 people, Knights of the Round Table style. Be like, this is a dumb rule. This rule's gone. And I know
You're fired.
You're fired. Listen, you're fired. So, coming full circle back to El Presidente. I know the draft rules are done by the major league, or done by the professional leagues. So I don't know. I'll become commissioner of baseball, even though what's his face is doing a pretty good job. You can have
Rob Manfred.
Yeah, I'll come after Manfred. You could replace what's his face in the NBA, and let's face it,
Adam Silver.
And let's face it, Roger Goodell.
I have my grievances with him. I'll tell you that.
Silver. Oh, Silver is. I mean, I think Goodell is by far the worst. If Goodell is Hitler, Silver's only Mussolini, but Mussolini's still a fascist dictator, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So,
I have my grievances.
So yes, that is. I feel like we've rambled on enough. We're about to hit the 2-hour mark, and 2 hours, yay! Longest sports ramblings ever. I think we're gonna break that every week. It's just gonna keep getting longer and longer and longer. So I think we've talked about all we care to talk about. I mean, I'm about to fall asleep sitting in this chair right now. I have to edit this video and get it to y'all around Friday at lunchtime, as you demand. Can't have it be late.
High demand, Mikey.
So we talked about a lot this episode. We talked about bad business for the NFL, college football, hot seats, and the FBI just kicking down the door on a lot of college basketball stuff, and brought up our opinions on draft rules and all that we've talked about before, and we will talk about plenty of times whenever it is appropriate. Let us know what you think in the comments. We want this to be a conversation. Tim, I don't know if he knows how to get to the comments on the channel, but I want him to ask me like, yo, give me the password again for the YouTube channel so I can read the comments. Like, we want to have a conversation with you. We want to know what you think, whether or not you agree with us or you choose to be incorrect in some way, or, you can disagree with us. That's fine. We don't care if you're not as right as we are.
First Amendment, Mikey.
First Amendment.
And you know what the second part is.
Oh God. Y'all know what else we like. Rest in peace to Hugh Hefner. That's your clue. This has been Sports Ramblings. Follow us on the appropriate social medias. Like the YouTube video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a comment. You can always email us sportsramblingsshow@gmail.com. Tweet at us, Tim on Instagram. Check out my gaming channel, Snapchat, all that stuff. You know what to do. Hope your team wins, unless they're playing one of my teams. I'm sure Tim's the same way. Go Irish, go Tigers, go everyone else. And that's all I have to say. Rest in peace to college basketball. The FBI will officially kill the NCAA. Tim, any closing remarks?
I think that covers it, Mikey.
Right.
Quite a night for sports fans.
It has been a legendary, as is tradition, night of Sports Ramblings. Thanks everyone so much for watching. We hope to see you next week. Mikey and Tim signing out. You gonna say anything like goodbye or anything?
Gyrus.
See you, nerds.